Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Nightreign. Today, as I make this video, the news literally just came out. We got this tweet from the Elden Ring team explaining something we weren't expecting. Instead of getting a new Night Lord boss, we're getting a repeat of the Everdark Sovereigns. So the ones that we've had so far of the Gaping Jaw Adel, Sentient Pest, and then the Darkdrift Knight, they're going to come back actually in pairs over 3 weeks. So we're currently reeling from that because so far the schedule for releasing the hard mode version with the updated takes, it's been a really fun thing, giving you a good week to take on the challenge, get comfortable with it, get good at it, form different strategies, and just enjoy the fight. And then before you know it, the week's over and the next one's here and you get to do it all over again. The idea of being able to do that 8 weeks in a row was awesome. So I was not expecting that to be interrupted. So instead, as they followed up with another tweet, from the week of July 10th to July 17th, we have the Gaping Jaw and Darkdrift Knight. Then from the 17th to the 24th, it's Sentient Pest and Darkdrift Knight. And then from the week 24th to the 31st, end of the month, Gaping Jaw, Sentient Pest together there. So this is the worst case scenario by far in my opinion. What I wanted was all of the 8 bosses to get their own week back to back to back. That's 2 months total of great Nightreign content after everything's been discovered, and then we're leaning into the harder content. That's been a great sort of trajectory, and that's now broken up. What I thought was going to happen then, that makes sense, that's fair enough, is that these 3 bosses that we've already had would be all back for 1 week. I thought that July 10th, July 17th would be Gaping Jaw, Darkdrift Knight, and then also Sentient Pest, and you can pick and choose between them. This is fantastic because if you ran out of time or you missed one, this gives those people a chance to go back, get that relic that they missed, experience the unique fight that was timed anyway. That makes complete sense. They've already made it very clear that the other 4 are going to come after these 3, but now we have this big weird delay. My concern for this is that, you know, releasing them week after week has been insane for the revival and interest for the game. I've loved it. Having a week gap where, you know, people who missed the first 3 get a chance to go back would have been fair enough. But 3 weeks of this repeat content before we get anything new, it suggests to me that they don't actually have new content or updates they're going to give us outside of the Everdark bosses. Whenever that assumed DLC is coming, whenever we're going to get that announcement, that seems like what we're going to be waiting for. So far, we haven't seen any big rebalancing to the way the game works. Like, for example, the overvaluing of the jails and obviously the relic that enhances your power. No rebalancing of the characters, their scaling, or any of the weapons. So I think these next 3 weeks are definitely going to be a low for the game and the player base on average, which is a real shame. So like I was saying, I think this is mainly about extending the life as far as they can without actually having new content to do that with, by drip feeding out the remaining Everdark Sovereigns and having these big gaps between their releases. It's a real shame. I'm not a fan of it. But what do you guys think? Anyway, what we do have this upcoming week then is Adel the Gaping Jaw and then Fulghor the Darkdrift Knight. Here's a quick overview reminder of the important details for each and advice on how to beat them. Adel's main weaknesses then amount to poison, magic, and holy. The original version of Adel was basically poisoned and then they'd get stunned and you get to deal some great DPS during that interruption. In the hard mode version, that doesn't really happen, but the poison itself will deal great ticking damage and will build up super quick because of the lack of resistance to it. Since Adel is a fight that's going to kind of blast around and move around a lot for a lot of the attacks, having reliable ticking damage through poison and rot is actually really useful. The fact that it has no resistance to magic and holy is a big one. The holy is whatever, it just means it'll work fine, but the magic's the bigger one because most bosses have some sort of magic resistance or significant magic resistance. The fact that Adel has none means your magic damage is going to feel like it's hitting harder than normal, so it's going to be a great option. Anyway, while you can bleed Adel, it does have like a noticeable bit of resistance since it does have bleed on its own attack with the jaw grab, but it will work. The unique weakness here is the fact that Adel counts as a dragon, so if you have any dragon specific bonuses, that's going to matter here. For Adel then, you should probably force the shifting earth mountaintops because there's a dragon at the start that gives you anti-dragon as an effect, and there are other anti-dragon benefits you can get in that location. It's a guaranteed way to get bonus damage against Adel. Otherwise, merchants can sell Dragon Rune Grease for 1,200 each, so if you see the merchant village, that's like a guaranteed way to have some of that for the final fight. Also, again, be aware that the jaw grabs do cause big bleed buildup, so getting some boluses for anti-bleed and eating those during the run will go a long way to prevent you dying to a grab. Remember, when you eat a bolus, it gives you resistance to whatever thing you ate for the rest of the run. Mechanically for the fight then, like any hard mode version, they start in their original phase 2 and then have a new phase 3. So with Adel, you open the fight and you're already dealing with phase 2, which means Adel immediately leaps from a distance to slam on you and the team. This will also cause the earthquake lines, so you gotta watch out for that. A main thing with Adel is that a lot of the attacks are like a big swing and then a recovery, but there's a lot of movement with it. So you need to be circling around Adel as much as possible. This lets you avoid those attacks, but if you can stay close, it actually opens up DPS windows. You're going to find that the head slams are going to cause those earthquake lines though, and those can be jumped rather than rolled. It's easier and more reliable. The worst part is the triple slam combo, where it's head slam, earthquake line times 3. So on that, you want to roll the head slam, jump the earthquake, and repeat that 3 times. It's important because even if you don't have aggro, you should still be doing that just in case the head slam hits you, even though you were behind him. Anyway, the 2 main super attacks are, say, the original one and the new one. The original one's just Adel doing this stompy dance and generating all this purple around itself. That you just run away and get out of the AoE explosion. But the other version is when it leaps up into the air and causes the tornado and all the other stuff. You know this is coming when Adel does a load of like super fast zips. Or it can also happen immediately after one of those purple charge explosions. Be aware that you can actually interrupt this if you time a Raider Boulder or a Wilder ult or maybe an Iron Eye ult at the moment just before it leaps up into the air, fully interrupting the attack. If you have to deal with it though, just make sure you run away from the center of the arena. This will be denoted by purple lightning as a pillar that shows up in the center. That's the landing location. Get away from that. You want to run away from that fast enough because if you're slow, you'll get hit by the ticking damage of the tornado wall and die very quickly. Once you're on the outside, those spirit springs appear, so you can just use those to jump over and into the eye of the storm as usual. However, don't forget that if you get the Whirl Special Physic Flask, basically it means you get ticking healing for every ticking bit of damage you have for a short period. I like this timing best for the Tornado Super. So as Adel jumps up into the air to then slam back down with the purple pillar, I just go to the center of the arena, wait for the lightning pillar to spawn in, pop the Whirl Flask, and then just tank heal through the entire damage. This leaves me right next to Adel for free DPS. Be aware that the grab combo is a 2x combo now. Roll through grabs to cause stagger build-up as usual. But be aware that it might be worth it to take the hit and then let your team DPS. If they're ready for it and have a good setup, it can just be free DPS, which is hard against Adel. Though the grab will actually cause Adel to heal a little bit, so you have to weigh that up. Adel's roar will also cause aggro, generating a red circle on one player, who will be the hard focus for a little while. Be aware that that roar procs twice, so roll it twice, and then you can get a great DPS window during it. In general, Adel is susceptible to stagger break, so anything that you can do to generate that will go a long way, like jump attack spam. In terms of quick suggestions on who to play, I recommend Raider or Wilder in a stagger setup with power stance for jump attack spam. You can also set up poison on your starting weapons, proc that, and swap to better weapons you found during the run for Ashen War spam or jump attack spam, whatever you like. Executor and Iron Eye with a poison focus will go a long way, just get that procced and then get going with anything else. Iron Eye is a guaranteed great setup for poison, where you can guarantee poison on a fully charged ult, which is phenomenal for this fight. And in general, Recluse with any magic range spam is going to be great DPS for the whole fight. On the other hand then, we have Fulghor or the Darkdrift Knight, that's the Centaur boss. Fulghor is an interesting one because standard slash strike and pierce damage has absolutely no resistance to these, so they all do great. Further, just like Adel, no magic resistance of any kind, so it does great there too. You can also do good with fire damage, but Holy will go nowhere against this Holy enemy. The best thing you can run though is obviously lightning damage for a 20% damage increase, and obviously during that one attack where he's charging up, debuffing you and trying to spawn the swords, if you interrupt that by hitting with lightning, you get some extra burst there and a DPS window. For status though, he's also very vulnerable, with absolutely no special resistance to poison, rot, bleed or frost. This is an insane combo, so Executor is really good in this fight for that reason. For targeting shifting earth then, I'd recommend either the Volcano for guaranteed legendary upgrade, maybe on a starting weapon or whatever, or say the City, which is going to give you very good odds at getting a good weapon, a legendary maybe, and duplicating something good. Once again then, for the main fight changes, you're going to see that you start in phase 2 compared to phase 1. So he's got that big poisonous arm for long combos and a lot of slams. many of which can be jumped over, so don't forget that. The familiar charge attacks will still be there, and the multi-shockwave combos. The big differences are during phase 3, where he regrows the arm properly and starts to use a load of holy attacks, mixing between these new range shots and some twin blade style attacks, which is a quick shot, so as he aims then fires quick, you can roll that or block it. But then there's also the falling holy arrows, which move out in a line slowly. These deal insane ticking damage, so you don't want to be caught in them. Run to the side of them and you'll be fine. Funnily though, Executor can parry every single one of these instances for a great build up. The last range shot of any kind is when he bounces through the air for the super shot, the nuke as people call it. Basically, he targets one player with a red mark, so the other players can run away from the red mark player and easily outrange the explosion. The thing is, the targeted player can still just sort of save up all the stamina, wait for Fulghor to properly target them with this glowing line, and then just sprint away with a surge sprint, fully outranging the nuke themselves, no problem. So you don't even have to dodge it or anything. Be aware that the nuke is blockable to half the damage it does though, if you need to. The other side of this is the new Holy Twin Blade, which has kind of two combos. One is a triple combo, so it's a fast double attack, then a leap up into the air for a jump slam. So it's 2 fast rolls, then a delay, then a final roll, and you can do some great DPS against that one. The other one you got to watch out for though is the massive chain swing combo. To see this coming, he starts to sort of helicopter spin it over his head. That's when you know it's going to be the long combo. For this, immediately try to get behind him, then sprint away from him. You can fully outrange the whole combo as an easy way to deal with it. The biggest advice I can have for this guy is once again, stagger, especially in single player where it's ridiculously good. Jump, power stun spam with Raider, Wilder, even Guardian would be very strong. For quick advice on who to play for this, I love Iron Eye because he's able to maintain great DPS for the whole fight with the ability to deal range damage to this very mobile target, and the marks are great. Again, very vulnerable to stagger, so you're able to build that up with Iron Eye's mark by popping it. Recluse is also going to be great for the same reasons as ranged benefits, but again, with Fulghor having no magic resistance, you're going to do great damage with that. The usual stagger setups are going to be great here since he's very vulnerable to that, with Raider, Wilder, and so on. And you've still got great status potential like I mentioned, like vulnerable to all of the statuses, so anything with Executor. A nice start with Poison on the weapon, and then an Ash of War to give you Frost. You got Bleed build up there, maybe you find Rot, absolutely busted if you get the right setup on the run. But yeah, there's a quick talk about this interesting change where we're not getting new bosses this week. I hope the advice and recap helps jog your memory or serves you well for actually getting these kills. And it should be a good chance, if you missed them, to try it out and get their relic unlocked. This happening for 1 week and it being the return of all 3 that we fought before, that would make sense and be fair enough. I really dislike the fact we're dealing with this for 3 weeks in a row though. But let me know what you think, and if you've got any extra advice for these 2 bosses we're dealing with, let us know. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.